But let's get into what the papers are reporting this morning. And I am here with the beautiful, the charming-looking MFA Adeti. Look at your screen. You can keep this as a screensaver.
Oh dear. Oh dear. What's happening? You should hear what my director is screaming in our ears. It's good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay.
And I love it when you call me the Hunter Pele.
No, I know what it does to you. Ready for the news review?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But before we go there, look, there's a story I'm seeing on one of the Daily Post.
Okay.
And I think we need to, because I know that something is coming up this weekend. The paper says, okay, let me try and get it for you. There's a lot has changed on my phone.
It's fine.
In this, good.
Okay.
I've seen it. On the front page of the Daily Post, it says, Education Ministry orders abolition of teacher licensure exams. But I know this weekend, some people are writing these exams. So what's happening? If it's true that the Education Ministry has ordered, and this is an order, that abolish the exams, why are people going to write it this weekend?
I like to, of course, and I don't speak for the
ministry,
but I like to think that usually because you go through a registration process or you go through certain processes, for example, these people may have already registered for the very latest one that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you abolish something, sometimes it takes a bit of time to implement, to effect. If they didn't say effective immediately.
Well,
and if it goes to a certain procedure, if you have already registered, I like to think that they will allow it to pass. And then subsequently, there won't be any more registration. Of course, I'm not a teacher, but if you're watching us and you're a teacher and maybe you want to share whether it goes through a certain process, and which is why you're going to take that exams, of course, we're interested to know.
Anyway, let's bring in our guest. I brought this up because maybe one of our guests would want to take this up. Now, Dr. Kwame Asasante is head for the Center for European Studies, University of Ghana. Doc, thank you for joining us. I see you there.
Good morning.
Great. Dr. Jabir Mohammed is senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. And Dr. Pakwesi Eduafol Abedu is a development analyst. Doc, thank you for joining too.
Hey, Kojo. Good morning. Good morning, MFA. And good morning to my colleagues.
Okay. Now, let's start with you, Dr. Kwame Asasante. As we do always, we'll give you 2 minutes to tell us, what issues you want to have a bite on before we go into the papers.
Thank you for the opportunity. This morning, I want to look at the ills of our democracy, which manifested itself in the just ended rerun at Ablekumanov. It is very unfortunate that we witness such ugly spectacle in this age and time, that people can subject human beings to beating, to kicking and whatnot. Very, very distasteful. I was so surprised that people could attack a human being like that. It's unfair, unjust, and, simply abhorring. If you look at that, you ask yourself whether we are, working to consolidate this democracy. Democracy thrives on ideas. It thrives on, principles, rules, and regulations. If for one reason or another, somebody has done something wrong to you, the best way to seek redress in courts and not to take the law into your own hands, because democracy revolves, or it hinges on rule of law, that it tells you that you cannot do anything without recourse to law. So what we saw about the beating of Howard Kumsen, very, very unfortunate. And look, I expect that the good people of this country, the lovers of democracy, will rise up, and we get those who are involved in these practices in this country out of this democracy. Because look, if we continue to harbor these people, a time will come, our democracy will be at the brink. And we are not interested in that. People have fought, worked hard to bring us this far. We can't sit down for a few disgruntled, a few non-patriotic, a few wicked and evil people to hijack this democracy. They take the pace and provide direction that is unhealthy for us. We need to rise up and defend this democracy. It is the only game in town. Whether we like it or not, democracy has come to stay. It has its own problems, but in the course of pursuing it, we will weather the storm and make sure that we have a beautiful democracy. I was very much also disappointed with the effort of the police that they could not, do much when the thing started, even though they came in to save the situation a little bit. But initially, I didn't see much of their action. I think it's not the best. It's not the best. We must stand up for the truth at all times and defend this democracy. We are still in a fragile state. Let us not forget about that. And we should work hard to strengthen the frontiers of our democracy. Those who prepare to go to, polling stations with guns, cutlasses, and the rest of them, please, we should make sure that we have clear rules that prevent people from misbehaving at polling centers, and let us work to save our democracy. The threat for democracy are things like this, and this lead to what we call democratic reversals, which we have started experiencing in some parts of Africa and the rest of the world. Please, Ghana has come a long way, and that anything that will go against democracy, let us stand up and nip it in the bud.
All right, Dr. Kwame Asasa, anytime I see these videos, I tend to get a bit angry because of the actions in there. But that's it. Let's come to you, Dr. Jabiru. What do you want to have a bite on?
Yeah, thank you, Kojo and MFR. This morning, I want to look at two issues.
Okay.
One of them has to do with our Management Week celebration, the University of Ghana Business School. Every year, we celebrate Management Week, where we bring together students, industry players, etc., to come and talk about issues that are emerging in the management space. This year is being organized by the Department of Marketing and Entrepreneurship, and our theme is Marketing, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, a catalyst for success in the 24-hour economy. So it's happening this morning live at the business school. So I want to encourage you and others to pass by and witness the program. The second thing I want to talk about is what you just showed in your screen before we were put on, concerning scammers in the real estate industry, especially the rental sector. This is so alarming because it means that we have not been able to fight our housing deficit. We've not been able to put together the better mechanisms in place to ensure that we have free and fair and beautiful housing for our citizens. So the state must wake up. The Ministry of Works and Housing has a long way to go. The real estate sector also have a long way to go. Individuals who build their own houses and want to put them out for rent have a long way to go. We need to have a coordinated system where we can put together all houses that are available for rent, so that we can regulate the sector very well. It means that we need to properly regulate it, because this is so alarming, because people take advantage of individuals who are looking for such houses. And sometimes some landlords don't know that it is a business. Some of them are so disrespectful that when you are even in someone's house, it's like you are begging the person. So it is making people to crave for their own homes. And this is even allowing us to go destroy all kinds of land for building purposes when we could have potentially used it for agriculture and other industrial activities. We could even actually build our houses in such a way that we will not have any problem if the state will take control of that, if investors will come and take control of that, so that we can even rent, or we can even buy the houses and be paying on installment basis in a mortgage form. These are things that happens in advanced countries. And this country, there is nothing like that going on. We leave everything going anyhow. And the way we handle things is not just the best. I know there are some industries doing their best, like We Live and others. But we still have many more who are not pulling their weight, because some of the housing, the prices are so high that you cannot even buy them. So I'm just appealing to the government to look into this matter and ensure that we regulate the real estate sector very well, especially the rental sector, so that we can have a better rent control system in the country.
The law says you don't take more than 6 months. Some people take 2 years. And if you don't have it,
exactly.
you
some
cannot.
Some take 2 years, etc.
If you don't have 2 years' money, you can have a decent accommodation to live in. So, but they will say the law says what, but the landlord also has his burden. So if you don't pay, you don't live.
So that's how come that we need to regulate. We can use the district assemblies. If you build your property and you want to rent, then you have to go and register with the district assembly, so that the district assembly can have a platform where we can enlist all of these things. Now we are now in the age of technology, so we should not be wondering, we should not be having challenge with some of these things. All of these things can be handled with technology. Just a click of the button, everything is going to be all right. So we need to actually put measures in place to be able to regulate the sector very well.
All right, grateful to you. Dr. Abedu, what's your take?
Yes, Kojo, I want to take on two key issues. The first is to remind government, is to remind leadership of this country that we have about 4 years away to end the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And if you look at Goal 1, it talks about poverty eradication. Kojo, a lot of people are still struggling to survive in this country. A lot of people are still struggling to eat, or to say have even a meal once a day, nutritious meal, if I should say. People are struggling to have decent shelter. And that is why when you come to the streets of Accra and most of our cities, you find people sleeping in gutters, in front of stalls, and so many inhuman places. Kojo, when it comes to poverty, people are still struggling to have access to good drinking water. And so it is important that as we are going about our daily activities as business people, as media, and as government, as appointees, we need to think about our colleagues, our fellows who are wallowing in poverty, who are struggling to survive. If we don't do that, inequality will perpetuate. And that will mean that people will have to find so many ways to survive, including all sorts of crimes and unacceptable social behaviors, which will end up hunting all of us, those of us who feel we are okay, who feel that we have a good place to sleep, we have food to eat, we have, cars to drive. These people will come and start hunting us. And so we need to be very mindful. Indeed, when you even look at the electoral violence that we have been experiencing and all the other crimes that we tend to record in this country, you cannot underestimate the role of poverty, the role of marginalization in these incidences. And so it is important that we are intentional about driving people or uplifting people from the lower bracket, from the poverty net, so that at least the typical Ghanaian will have a decent living. But the next thing, the quick thing I want to add is that I just read on the portal, your online portal, that President Mahama has indicated that illegal small-scale mining is an emergency, an issue of an emergency. I was wondering, when did the president get to know this? Is it because he went through his tour in the Western region and observed things himself that is making him come to the realization that all the noise and all the issues that civil society and advocates were talking about on the need for the president to declare a state of emergency, is it a time that the president has come to appreciate the concerns and the cries of the people? Indeed, if the president wants to know, I will urge him to fast track his thank you tour and then visit all the other areas in the country, including the northern part of Ghana, including the eastern part of Ghana, and then have a further and deeper appreciation of the issues. Then the president will realize that the good water he and his team are drinking at the Flagstaff House is not the same as what others are drinking in the other parts of the country. The good health that they may be experiencing, of course, when they are not well, they can travel outside to find solace in terms of health access. But in most parts of these Galamsey areas, access to healthcare is a big challenge. And so if the president is now becoming aware of the gravity of the issue, then we want to remind him that the issue is more dire than what he's seen in that years in all the areas in the western and western north regions. And so we are expecting to take decisive actions on small-scale mining and ensure that activities are brought down, or the illegal activities are brought down to a more sustainable level, where we can have access to good drinking water, where we can have a forest reserve with
Oh no, maybe
where we can have good air to issues, and even the social problems along with Galamsey, so that we can have a better and sustainable country. Thank you, Kojo.
All right, Dr. Abedu there. Well, let's get into the papers. And I have with me the Ghanaian publisher and also the Accra Times. What do you have?
Okay, I've got the Ghanaian Times this morning and the News Center this morning.
Okay, let's
start with the Ghanaian Times. And the big one in front of the Ghanaian Times this morning is the government secures $117 million for basic education reforms, and a photo of Dr. Clement Park here in front of the Ghanaian Times. And as well, President orders arrest of rogue task force. We'll bring you details of that as well. And if you didn't know, safety of meat not guaranteed unless it is sourced from certified facilities. Experts have been speaking. And also, businessman petitions Yoko over alleged 100,000 fraud by 3 persons. Story is on page 3. I'll quickly run through the News Center as well as City gains reflect policy sink. Dr. Johnson Esiama, Bank of Ghana governor, speaking as well. And chiefs to Mahama toughen Galamsey fight. And also, BOG's 1.4 billion CD support in first quarter 2025 is too aggressive. And it's the IMF that is saying this as well on the News Center. What do you have?
Well, from the publisher, the Ghanaian publisher says Ioko probes Mincom and Ademus chiefs over minerals petition, as you read earlier. It comes with a picture of the CEO of Mincom, Martin Kwekweisi, and also the CEO of Ademus, Angela List there. Ghana Link slams false report on KIA scanners. Mahama's Levy takes off today. From the Accra Times, Speaker praises Ghana's democracy at Francophone Forum. The benefit of strong economic performance, more foreign grants for Ghana. That's from Amenfi East MP, because he's saying that. Also, strengthening parliamentary democracy, clerk to press corps. Senator engages Queen Mothers on cultural preservation. And surge in communicable diseases, Health Minister raises alarm. Tackling petroleum sector crimes, MPA, judiciary to prosecute offenders. Those are the stories I have here. Okay,
maybe we'll start with the Ghanaian Times. Now, this one that was not a major highlight, but I found it in page 11. On page 11 of the Ghanaian Times, says that fuel allowances allocation for political appointees scrapped. This was a headline story yesterday, a top story yesterday. And so maybe we'll get into it. Dr. Sasante, if you can hear me, let's start with you because this one has my attention. We'll start with a scrapping of it and probably you'll expand it to the levy that is taking effect today. Now, yesterday, first of all, let me tell you this, because President John Mahama's decision to cancel fuel allowances for all political appointees could save the country more than 121 million over the next 4 years. And this is according to Dr. Sharif Khalid, economic policy advisor to the vice president. how much it's projected to save the country, 121 million. Now, why I'm starting with you is the honesty sometimes of Ghanaians. Because yesterday, I'll say of government, not Ghanaians. Yesterday, we engaged with the deputy spokesperson for government. And I put the question directly whether it is some sort of a requirement of the IMF, of course, because IMF had given a cap that we cannot spend as a country. But how much the current government is seeking to spend is just slightly above what the IMF had capped the country for. And then I asked whether it was a fiscal emergency. They said no, it is a clear reset agenda. You understand it better. I want to know what's really the difference between your reset agenda and a fiscal emergency, because you think that there's a problem with the country. This is why you want to reset, though. But whilst you're at it, just let me understand how you feel about the full allowance allocation that the government is cutting, how much is projected to, save the country, and if this is a feasible thing for governments to implement.
I think it's a good policy by all standards, because you see, when you don't have resources, every little drop is important. So if we are going to rake in 121 million Ghana cedis, then it's good such amount of money for development. My difficulty is that how we can track the use of this money and how it will be transparent. How do we ensure that government officials will not bypass this and do something differently? If we are able to put measures in place and make sure that the money we get, we ensure value for it, we use it for very important, purpose, then obviously one would say that it is a good policy. More often than not, these things are done, people rubbish them. But I tell you, little money is so important. If you look at governance in general, the best way to govern is to ensure what we call extractive capacity. You build your capacity to raise revenue to run your own affairs. So you don't need to wait for IMF or World Bank to come to your aid and then whip you to line, as it were, to be able to do the needful. Once you realize, and you have, for Mahama, he has made it part and parcel of his manifesto that some of these things are part of the reset agenda. We want to see more, and so that we can rake in a lot of money for the state. That aside, I want to look at the $170 million basic education reform facility.
Kindly let's cross over to the street. Once government is beginning the implementation of the 1 cedi per litre, petroleum levy today, our colleague is engaging passengers in the trotros in the street of Accra. Let's go there now and have a feel of what's happening. KMJ is doing that interaction.
I think they'll be taking our monies and then not use it for what they want to use it for. So.
But at least transparency-wise, you think that they have done enough for you to believe them?
Well, I think so. For the past few months, I think they've been doing much. So I'm hoping.
Okay. All right. So please be careful. There's a gutter over here, so be careful. All right. So we're still here. We're still commuting. We have left Newtown. We have Ridge right now. And this is where passengers are getting down. And we're still engaging them to find out what they think about the new levy, which is the 1 Ghana cedi that we're all supposed to be paying. Now, the pumps will increase it. If they do, it means that the drivers will also increase it. And it's all going to go into the packets of the passengers. Are the passengers ready to actually pay for this amount of money? And that's the question we're asking this morning right here on this trip. And we're here at Ridge right now. We're going all the way to Tema Station. That is where we're going. And very soon we'll try and then engage with the drivers as well to find out if they are also ready to actually conform with this new regulation. When it came before, the drivers said that no, they're not ready. There was no stakeholder engagement and all of that. Now there have been some sort of engagements with them. Are the stakeholders right now ready to actually do what they are supposed to do in terms of accepting this new levy that is coming? We're going to be doing that, and like I said, we'll be talking to some of the drivers very soon as well. And my name is KMJ, reporting live here on the street of Accra on Prime Morning.
All right. So that's it. We'll go back there when he starts talking to the drivers to understand what the drivers and passengers are all making of this 1 cedi per litre levy that's being introduced today. Dr. Santi, you were moving on to the $17 million that the Education Ministry has secured.
Yes, but before I do, let me touch on quickly with the 1 cedi levy.
Okay.
My position is very clear on this because I was in support of 1 cedi e-levy, and I still stand by that. So I was not expecting the government to abolish it. And you know my views on that, because I believe that, and it is part and parcel of governance process to be able to build capacity, raise your own revenue, and then run with it, right? So why do you abolish e-levy of 1 cedi and introduce 1 cedi e-levy at the energy sector? If somebody attack you, it is just unnecessary. You have just exposed yourself to this, because it is nothing but robbing Peter to pay Paul. That e-levy you cancel, I was for it. I supported during Akufo-Addo's time. I said, let it be, and let's maintain it. So now you abolish it, you introduce it. What's the meaning of it? Anyway, so that is all that I can say about it. Let me go to $170 million basic educational reforms facility. It is very good because, you see, education at all levels, you need to strengthen them. But more particularly when you are talking about the basic level, the foundation need to be strong. In other jurisdictions, you realize that that is where they put in a lot. But the opposite is the situation in our part of the world. You go to certain parts of the country, you realize that even those who are teaching at the basic level, you can't even vouch for the quality of teaching that goes on.
Yeah.
In other jurisdictions, I can mention Czech Republic, for instance. I am told that those who teach at the basic level, even your minimum qualification is a master's degree. You are a master of the subject and you are teaching it. Here, sometimes you go around and you realize that we are in a sorry state. So if the government want to revamp that area, strengthen the base, build capacity, I am all for it. All that I want to ensure, the government has to ensure, is that whatever we put in as money, we'll get returns for it. And that we try to introduce the kind of education that will enable our young people to rub shoulders with their counterparts all over the world. You can go through all manner of education, but if it is not education that dovetails into the work of industry, dovetails into the real world of work, I'm afraid it becomes empty. I move on to look at...
But Doc, a question on that. I mean, this is not the first time we're receiving such grants. We've had it over the years. But if you look at the improvement in our education, especially at the basic level, people say it does not commensurate with how much we've gotten. So really, how do we ensure the effective utilization of such a grant at the basic level?
What we are doing as part of it, we must continue to demand answers for some of these things. Yeah, because the public has the right to know. What is wrong with we posing questions? How can a minister come and explain to us how far they've dispersed that money? Where did we inject that money or put that money into? These are things that we have to do. We as members of the civil society, members of think tanks, general public must rise up to some of these issues and then demand answers. Sometimes my problem in this country is that when people belong to political party, they sleep over their rights. They do not want to, do something to affect the image of the government if something is going untoward. But please, we don't govern this way. We don't govern with sympathy, empathy, and all that. We govern with rules and regulation, making sure that we adhere to them and we do the right things. I'll move on to Speaker praising Ghana's democracy. There's nothing wrong with the Speaker doing that. It's a good thing because take it or leave it, our democracy has come a long way, and it has become one of the shining examples of democracy that is stable, that is developing, and that is improving by the day. I can say all the good things, but having said this, I have a problem. There are a number of things that we need to do if we want to firm this democracy and make it meaningful. Human rights records, there are some aspects of it which are still problematic. And I'll urge the public to check on U.S. State Department report on human rights. You come face to face with some of the ills within that report. For instance, the beating of suspects in police stations, unnecessary treatment given to them by the police and all that is a tall order. It dovetails into almost every regime. And I know the police over the years, their leadership have done a lot to improve this. But there are some, vestiges of some of these things existing in the report. We need to work at that. Issue of electoral violence, which we have seen. I have observed with pain over the years that when we go to elect, we started democracy and we saw people who went to the polls to destroy ballot boxes and all that. We tried to deal with this. And in no time, people introduced macho men who will come and cause commotion, destroy ballots, chase people out. In no time, we move the conversation further to another level where we have parties arming themselves in the form of vigilantes, creating all manner of tension, fear, maiming people, and the rest of them. It didn't end there. We also move into the level where at the polling station, people shoot people. We talk about 2020 election, 8 people died, and it didn't bother the government of the day. Today, we go to Ablekuma. Sorry, we went to Ayawaso, and we saw brutalities and all that. Report was written about this, and it was shelved. You look at Ablekuma, it is an ugly spectacle. It tells me that yes, we have done a lot about to improve our democracy, but a lot need to be done in the area of electoral violence and all that. Because once we get it wrong, I'm afraid we are going to get our democracy wrong. Issue of no democracy survive without improvement in the economy. Economy must improve because democracy is driven by economic fortunes, because that is where people see the dividends and they are prepared to develop and support democracy at all times. Issue of political participation, must be improved. And then issue of media freedom. Media go to capture this and they are subject of attack, beatings and all that. We cannot pride ourselves of having a very solid democracy when these evils continue to rear their ugly heads in our democracy. We need to take a second look at this and right the wrongs and create the democracy that will stand the test of time.
Okay.
Well, shall we move to Dr. Jabril? Dr. Jabril, let's start with the One Ghana CD levy, which is starting today. Will you describe this as regressive or as quite an equitable one? Dr. Sasanti has always been vocal that it is robbing Peter to pay Paul. Many have argued that that is true. Many say it's regressive. Do you find it equitable?
Well, the fact of the matter is that the energy sector is currently struggling, and there is a need to revamp it, in as much as it may not be quite equitable, because it's not everybody who drives a vehicle, but it is everyone who takes a vehicle. Indirectly, you're going to be paying for it. In the e-levy, for instance, there was instances where you can decide not to pay for it because you may decide not to send the money through your phone. You can go to a vendor and pay, and send the money through the vendor, and you don't have to pay the e-levy. So that was the case. But for this one, everybody must pay for it, whether you like it or not. The moment you have anything to do with a vehicular movement, you will have to pay for it. And I continue to maintain that what is going to be the marginal benefit if we have to keep our light out versus if we have to keep our light on. The cost of the light being out might outweigh the cost of we deciding to pay for this one Ghana cedi more so that we can keep our light on. In as much as we may have to demand more accountability because we introduced the ESLA bond, the ESLA levy, so that we can clean up the energy sector. One might ask, what has happened to the ESLA money? And now that we are demanding for additional funds, what is the guarantee that this additional funding is going to solve the problem that we are currently facing? That is a question that we should be asking ourselves. And I think that the authorities must have to give us good explanation about how efficient the ESLA proceeds were actually used before this one Ghana cedi is being asked one more. The moment the ESLA was dropped, a particular bond was issued in 2017, and that bond of Templeton, I remembered, and that bond was paying a coupon rate of about 19.something%. And that has crippled the energy sector up to now because the funding that was meant to resolve the problem perpetually could not resolve the problem because we still have the same problem currently existing. What is the guarantee that this particular one Ghana cedi will not also be mortgaged or collateralized and be used for additional loan so that that money can be used for elsewhere instead of using it to solve the energy problem? So we need that guarantee from the government. If the government can guarantee us that right, then we are going to hope that the benefit is going to be wider. But as it stands currently, we know that if the one Ghana cedi is not paid, our light might go off. So we have no option. It has already been implemented. We have no option then to pay. But we have to demand accountability, just like what Professor Asante said. Accountability is very important. You cannot raise revenue and just spend the money anyhow without accountability. So I believe that authorities must give a very concrete explanation that the money will not be mortgaged once more and use it for something else, either than using it to solve the energy sector crisis that we are currently facing.
Dr. Jabi, I have a question on that. I have a question on, just to follow up on this one before you probably move on or make any further comments on this. So governance really is about managing scarce resources. So this guarantee that you're asking from government, are they likely to give it because then they can say that, of course, I said that these funds, we're going to be using it for the energy sector. We wake up to tomorrow to another need. We've gathered enough money here. And so we've got the money. We must use this money for something else. As you describe it rightly, guarantee or some mortgage or collateral. Would governments be wrong if they did that? Is that not their work to be able to toss around the scarce resources?
No, it's important for you to do vehement, but when you are doing it, you have to be mindful. That's why I just said that we did that kind of vehement for the energy sector levy. Here we are paying additional one Ghana cedi. If we had utilized the funds very well, if we had said, okay, fine, we are going to ensure that we put, let's say, up to 50 or up to 70% of it down. The other 30%, you can use that for other kind of other expenditure, other discretionary expenditure that may come up. But you didn't do that. You decided to mortgage the funds, and who knows what you use the funds for. At the end of the day, here you are, you come back and ask us that we should pay one Ghana cedi more. Yes, I may not be against it because we need to keep our lights on. But in as much as I'm not against it, I'm also for accountability, where the government will have to show for the benefit of the funding, because we don't want to come back and pay another money for the energy sector. We are paying too much for it. Remember that when it was introduced, the petroleum marketing companies were very angry about it. They said they were not consulted, etc., etc. I remember the CEO was here with us, and there was a lot of commotion on that particular levy.
I agree.
Yes, I remember that. But I consistently believe that the right thing must be done. And we cannot wait to consult everybody before we solve a problem. Sometimes you have to go ahead to solve the problem, then you come back to sit on the tables and have a better discussion. That is how governance is supposed to be. You have to be proactive in addressing your problems. I believe that the energy minister will be addressing the press, and he will come out and talk more about it, how efficient that funding can be utilized. I am an energy person. My PhD was in revenue mobilization in the energy sector, especially oil revenues. So I tend to understand a lot of things, and I've done things with PURC and all of that. And the last time I said that the build up of the energy, the petroleum pricing was not part of it. He argued that it was part, but later on, the government clarified that it was not part of it. The fuel is not part of it. So I think that this is the time for us to reform. And we have to reform the sector in such a way that it is lively for all of us, because energy is very important. Without energy, you cannot be sitting in a studio to talk, and I cannot also connect with you. So let's try to ensure that we maintain a stable power, and that will go a long way to help the economy.
Well, Doc, but I mean, you spoke about ESLA earlier on. If ESLA couldn't deal with the challenges in the energy sector in terms of debt, what is driving your confidence that the 1 cedi per liter will likely do it?
Yeah, I'm not saying that the 1 cedi per liter will solve the entire problem. I'm saying that if you put it to where you said you wanted to put it, okay, the ESLA, it will have solved the problem. But here is a case, you use the money, you collateralize the money and use it as asset-backed security to go in for additional funding to come and fund other sectors of whatever at all you wanted to do. But here we are today, we are going back again to pay another 1 Ghana cedi. For what reason? The reason is that we didn't utilize ESLA very well. So I believe that this 1 Ghana cedi should solely be dedicated for the energy sector. We should not in any way use the money for any other purpose. The money should be used for that. So that's why I say that the government should come up with a clear guidelines as to how they want to use the 1 Ghana cedi, so that we don't come back in future to pay another 2 cedi or even 4 cedi.
Okay. All right. Dr. Abedu.
Now, do I have the floor to two other ones?
Yes. So do it.
Yeah, so the issue, the reforms in the basic schools. I remember one point I want to clear on the licensure exams. The fact of the matter is that I read somewhere and I've heard somewhere that the cancellation takes effect in August. So the one that they are writing today,
this weekend,
or this weekend, is still valid. But from August onwards, which is the new academic year, something like that will not be done. Up to now, the academic year hasn't ended. It will end in this July. So if they are writing this weekend, it is valid.
Okay.
But after
but let me ask you, since you are in the academia, if you are cancelling something, which is the licensure, then what becomes of those who have it, really? Such that people are going to write it against something that we are abolishing. What is its relevance?
Yeah, well, and I think that the essence of introducing that was to be able to match with maybe other countries where you can move out of Ghana and go and utilize it somewhere else. And the people in Ghana, and it was also compulsory that before you go to teach, then you should have that. I don't see anything much wrong with that, especially even though you have gone through the basic training, you have gone through the examinations, etc. Come and justify your inclusion by an independent body. That solidified your position. The Ghana Medical Council and all those places, after you have qualified, you still have to go and write to be admitted into the distance. Ghana Law School, after you are qualified, you have to go to the professional and go and write a final exams and be admitted as a lawyer. So I didn't see anything wrong with that, but it was a government promise, and they have to come out and they have to deliver, and that is exactly what they have delivered. So in my candid opinion, it's just going to help them, because if they want to move elsewhere, maybe they can say that, oh, we have qualified as a licensed teachers. So maybe the other countries maybe may also consider them. If they also have another one, they already have how it feels to write a license exams. So anywhere they go in the world, they can equally write it and qualify to also be a teacher. So I think that was the essence of it. But if the government says that it's not relevant, they know why it is not relevant, and that's how come that they are canceling it. So I don't have any problem with they also canceling because they think that it isn't relevant for our people. They think that being trained in the school level is enough for you to qualify to go and teach, and you don't have to come and write another exam to qualify. So that is a position that they have taken. Whichever position that any government takes, they know why they have to take that position. So the 170 million.
But must we leave it to them when we know that possibly those of you in academia who conduct research, you probably will know the impact of that on the quality of education in Ghana? Must we leave it to politicians to say, well, you promise, so you can go ahead and deliver, when we know the importance of that particular initiative?
Thank you. The problem about the country is that we don't evaluate policies when we implement. Have you ever seen any, what do you call a report or any policy evaluation on maybe let's say capitation grant, school feeding program, what do you call it, free senior high school, the impact, the challenges? Have you ever seen any policy evaluation that has come up? We don't do that. So until we begin to do that, so let's see, we can do comparative analysis. This is a very good policy intervention you can do. You can look at teachers who first were not writing it, teachers who have written it, and teachers who are not going to write it. Okay. So you have three streams of individuals. You trace it, you can do difference in difference approach, and you come out with a clear policy intervention, whether the policy had worked, because you have before those who have done it and those who haven't done it. So you have three groups of categories to trace. And at the end of the day, you can see a clear impact in a policy intervention manner if you are able to do that. If you don't do that, until you do that, then you cannot confirm whether it has improved the quality of teaching and learning or not.
Okay, all right. Finally, yes.
Finally, 170 million. You see, there is already a government program ongoing. During the COVID time, there was a grant that they won, which was on Gallup, Ghana Accountability Learning Outcome Project. And this project has so far trained about more than 10,000 schools in the country. And that 10,000 schools, the low schools in the country, and has improved their outcome. I think on the basis of that they are winning this additional grant. So I believe that we need to strengthen the basic school, just as Dr. Asante said. The basic schools are very important. If they don't have the grounding, they cannot do better even at the university level. We have consistently seen poor performance outcomes, especially when it comes to some of the courses that has to do with mathematics and others. So I believe that this funding should be used to improve on mathematics education and the English education. For me, if you left me alone at the basic school level, they should not do anything apart from English, mathematics, and the Ghanaian language. They should not be burdened with any other thing. When they move to the junior high school, then we can now introduce additional courses. That time, they have built the capacity. But you leave them like that, it becomes extremely difficult. I personally didn't go to school early. But when I went, I decided to learn more on mathematics and English, the Concord, subject-verb agreement, and the like. How to read, how to connect works together, and all of that. These are the foundation of education. If you don't have that, you cannot be a solid person.
Okay, thank you. Time now for us to bring in Dr. Abedu. Doctor, so I mean, issues from the that's the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Absolutely, right? 117 million, of course, and the one Ghana CD levy that's taking effect today.
Yeah, so I think the issue really is about trust by the people to pay the one Ghana cedi and why people are complaining about the levy. You see, it tells you how in recent times or consistently people have been developing some kind of mistrust in government when it comes to revenue mobilization or taxation from the people. Ghanaians appreciate the need to pay taxes. But consistently also, government has been giving this impression to Ghanaians that when you give us the money, we won't use it for the purpose that it deserves. And so even though this policy or this tax was withdrawn at a point, we have to go back into further engagement, but it still faced a lot of resistance. It tells you the fundamental problems that we have in terms of our governance and democracy. And so for me, it is incumbent on the president and the government to really start righting the wrongs, rewriting the story about the impressions that Ghanaians have about government and the way governments utilize our resources. So that, especially in the context of this very government, where a lot of goodwill and a lot of support has been given to him or to the government, especially looking at the recent elections and all the issues that have been coming after the elections, governments need to take advantage, capitalize on that goodwill, and build on the trust that is being reposed in it, so that people will be able to believe that, okay, subsequently, whenever any tax or anything of that sort comes, we are okay and comfortable to pay. If not, then governments should be ready to face such kind of resistance anytime a tax is introduced. And you see, when this trajectory continues, what it means is that eventually a time will come that almost every intervention or any taxation or revenue mobilization strategy that will be implemented by the government will face huge resistance. And that will not augur well for development. And so I would just entreat the president and the government to take a lot of lessons from the tax and all the issues that has surrounded or come around it, and see how they can do things right. Personally, I think I've echoed this and I want to say this again. I was expecting leadership to really look at the internal problems, the leakages, the wastage that we have been encountering, we have been experiencing, and government itself has been acknowledging has been associated with the energy sector. We have so much to do in terms of the leakages, so that at least those expenses, which eventually are being pushed down to the consumer, can be managed. But we don't seem to hear a lot being done in terms of how these wastages are curtailed or are being avoided. And always the convenient way is to come to the people, tax them, so that we can solve the problem. And so I want to use this medium to just entreat the leadership that, look, the structural problems still persist. The fundamental problems still persist. And that is, we have so much leakage, we have so much wastage in the sector. And so it is important that as part of building the trust, these wastages, these leakages are dealt with severely, so that next time when you come with the clean hands to say that I have dealt with the problem, the internal problems. I have dealt with the issues within, but the problem still persists. We still need more money to solve the problems in the energy sector. So please help us, Ghanaian people, by paying more so that we'll be able to resolve the issue. But if you always come to say, come and pay tax, whilst the money goes and then it becomes another challenge, I don't think it's augur well for democracy. I don't think it's augur well for accountability and our development path as a whole. And so that is a little that I want to touch on the D-Levy. Now, let me go on the allowances which have been scrapped, the full allowance to government appointees. You see, when the levy, this news broke up, I tried to have some informal discussion with some people. And the issue that people are continuously raising is that, and so what? What happens? How do we know that indeed these allowances will not be given to them through another means? And assuming that the allowances are going to be scrapped, what will be the purpose? How will the person or the ordinary person in my small village in Yamfekwe Krofu or Abodunko is going to benefit from such a scrap? I go back to the era of former President John Adjei Kufuor, and I want to say, can we do something more symbolic, something more exemplary to say that the fuel allowances which were scrapped, we have used the amount to build 5 toilet facilities for communities which are in need of these amenities? Can we use that, or can that money be used for something, to build a school or something that can provide that evidence that the money that you denied these appointees have been used for the purpose of the ordinary person, the ordinary poor person out there. If we're able to give this kind of confidence to the people by showing the way, I think it will accumulate into the issue that I raised previously, that it will help to build trust, it will help to build confidence, and it will help government in terms of its image and credibility, so that anytime some of these austerity measures are implemented, it will have that full support. But interestingly, look at the timing where this allowances scrapping was announced or took effect, and when this D-levy also came to effect. So it's just like the government is trying to play with our minds. Something is off. We are trying to tell you that, look, let's all help each other by tightening our belt. So we are going to leave the appointees with these allowances. But then just on the other side, there's a D-levy to pay. I think all these things ends up affecting people's perception about governance and all the issues that comes with the negativities. And so I would implore the president, I would implore the government to use these opportunities to ensure that every step that is taken, people's sentiments, people's understanding, people's responses are well taken notice of, and ensuring that what that it takes, it will eventually help improve the lives of the people. If not, a time will come, there will be a lot of resistance for the Ghanaian people. Let me touch also on the Bank of Ghana and the issue that the Bank of Ghana, the governor, talked about regarding the fact that we should try to price quote our currency using the Bank of Ghana official rate, and all the praises that you want to give in terms of intentional policy interventions, which is helping the city stability. Look, the Bank of Ghana should understand. I was happy that, Dr. Siama himself acknowledged that the Zamrama people, the informal sector, they are playing a key role in our forex market. And the fact is that these informal sector players are very key in our forex market. The burgers will come to town, and the first point of resort to change their money as the Zamrama people or the informal sector. That is the reality. And these people are transacting huge sums of dollars on a daily basis. Is the Bank of Ghana aware? Is the governor aware? If yes, what interventions or what strategies are we deploying to ensure that these informal sector players who are doing so much, who are transacting so much and affecting our currency, our official currency dealings, are dealt with? If not, are we to think, or are we to hold on to that perception by the public out there that some players within the government, some players within the governance systems or our political leaders are actually behind these Zamrama people and are encouraging them to do their business? If that perception is not what it is, then we expect the governor to really crack the whip on these informal sector players in ensuring that we mainstream our forex market, we formalize our forex market, so that the Bank of Ghana can have that space in controlling the forex market. If not, we will continue to have this kind of dual market where the Bank of Ghana will do its own talking, give its own rates, but then the real business will happen out there in the ghettos, in the corners, at the Zamara people, where people will continue to deal with them. And so I will implore the BOG and the governor to be very mindful of this and ensure that we don't go back to that era where CD will get out of hands.
Okay.
We are enjoying the current rate and we want an improvement of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think this is all time would allow us. We had the publisher, but I think issues that are carried by the other papers have already been discussed as well. So thank you to you, our guest, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. We also have Dr. Jibril. He is with the University of Ghana Business School, and also Dr. Beidu there. He is a development analyst. Dr. Pakwesi Eduafala Beidu, development analyst there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us, having time for us on the AM show. So there you have it, MFA. Yes.
If you decide that you're not going to take transport, whichever way, listen. That cassava seller who has to transport
would obviously get it back to you.
And we'll roll it over to you. So you have to start making up your mind that you will be paying directly or indirectly. Yeah.
We'll be having, a chat on that particular one, the implementation of the 1 cedi per litre petroleum levy here on the show with the GRA. We want to understand the nuances about this particular tax. So do stay with us here on the AM show as we go through that education. We'll be back with more.